everything was just mad, hanging out with two lunatics.
So can we call you Margo, or do we have to call you Brenden?
You can, mate. It's no dramas. Margo, Brenden, whatever you want. I'm easy. Doesn't
Does
doesn't bother me.
does anyone call you Brenden?
Only when I'm in trouble with my wife, but yeah, that's no. I get called all sorts of things. Margs, Margerine, Margo,
Can I
Brendo.
ask can I ask what year you were born in, Margo?
Yeah, 72.
72, yeah, I thought so. I'm 71.
Okie doke. It's not often there's people older than me now, mate.
There, there, there you go, I did it.
You did it.
Well,
Well,
I was just saying, thanks so much for joining us on the Insiders. It's absolutely sick to have a chat with you and appreciate that it's early doors for you. It's 10 p.m. for Darren. He's in France. It's 9 p.m. for
no
me here
way.
in England. So we're all on different schedules, but I think Darren's probably having a coffee as well as you are. So we're all good. There he
There
is.
he is. Darren.
Yeah, I didn't have the
Yeah.
video on. I actually did have a coffee an hour ago, which is potentially the latest coffee I've ever had.
Yeah, I apologize. I didn't realize the time zones are going to be so different for you guys, but
No,
yeah,
it's not that radical. It's not actually daytime here till 8 in the morning anyway.
okay.
And I'm on my off season for work, which is on season for surf. So you can't really get moving before 8 in the morning, which isn't really that early.
True, true. Very good.
So we was just saying about your by Coffs Harbour. So how far is your local to get to?
Yeah, well, I'm living in a little country town called Valor, and that's for me, it's 15. I live for 15 minutes inland, so it's a 50-minute drive to the beach for me.
Nice.
Yeah, not too far at all. I mean, when you're a kid living 15 minutes drive from the beach, it feels like it very far away. But yeah, for me now, it's fine. I actually enjoy that little, you know, break from the beach.
Do you is is there 15 minutes in a couple of directions, or do you have to go straight into like the coastal road and then you got to go south or north?
No, I'm like straight west. Yeah, I'm just straight inland. I'm actually the road's called East West Road, and I'm just directly west, straight inland.
I love how simple it is sometimes in Australia and certain places with road names and directions and stuff. East West Road, that's tells you which way that road goes for sure. Does that
Exactly.
does that spot is that a pretty quiet one? Not too many crowds or
Yeah, that's the beauty of where I live at the moment. Like it's probably the last area on the East Coast where it feels like it's still a little bit more untouched. It's obviously Christmas time and Easter holidays and whatnot. It does get quite busy, but in between those times, it's pretty mellow. Yeah, it's good. And everyone that lives in this area sort of has that same sort of, that country vibe attitude where it's a bit different to the Gold Coast, or
nice?
living
Yeah.
in a city like Sydney or whatever. It gets a bit more competitive in those towns, as you sure are aware.
Yeah, for sure. It probably leads on to like because so I was going to ask about your surfboards because me and Darren
Yeah,
are complete surfboard geeks, but that I know the guys at Album quite well, and a couple of years ago, or maybe I think it was a couple of years ago, maybe a year and a half ago now, I was speaking to them about the names of the two boards that you've got and the origination of those, and that obviously ties back to being a bit away from the coast and a bit more like nature, kind of agricultural, right?
yeah. No, I was very fortunate enough to get picked up by Album,
Yeah.
and Matt Parker was keen to do two models with me. It was part of the contract, part of the deal, and yeah. So, and at the time, well, still at the moment, when I'm not surfing, I'm part time. I'm like doing field work for an ecologist, and yeah. So a lot of times we're working with bats, which is what the Vespers are taken after. And legless lizard surveys, been doing a lot of those, and that's the Delma. So Delma is a type of legless lizard. Yeah. So, and they just thought, oh, they're quite fitting names and quite unique. So they were happy with those
For
names. So
sure.
it's that cool.
Yeah, they definitely fit because they've kind of got that like a Vespa, obviously in a lot of parts of the world, spelt slightly differently, is an iconic moped, but it still
Exactly.
is quite
Yeah.
iconic as well. And stuff. I actually have just put on order a mini Vespa, like
Yeah.
literally
Nice.
before you replied about 2 weeks ago, for later this year. I've ordered one, so I'm quite excited because I had a few pass me, a few people on them, a couple of people on Delmas as well, and I was like, oh, I need to have a go on that. But how have you found the switch to album and the boards?
Quite refreshing to tell you the truth. It's been like obviously surfing my whole life, riding the standard shortboard, thrusters forever, and just that same dimensions, the same high performance board. Still enjoy riding it, but just to ride something a little bit unique, but not over the top unique. Just for those, a little bit more width. I'm riding quads and twin fins a little bit more regularly. Um, it just feels refreshing and like it just feels like I have a resurgence of enjoying my surfing again. The boards feel fast, but they still maneuver like a short board, but they're a bit more user friendly. And I find too, when you're a little bit older, I've noticed people that are, professional surfers that are a bit more, just experienced than an average surfer, the boards paddle well, with the width, and the rockers are a little bit not over the top. So the boards are a lot easier to use, but I guess, myself being a bit more of an experienced surfer, I find that refreshing as well because I feel like I can push my boards a lot harder without them skipping out. And it feels like I'm more like snowboarding than surfing sometimes, which I like to surf on the wave, and I just really enjoy that. And I find these boards hold in extremely well, and they feel fast. And I think a board that goes fast and that holds in, and you can trust it off the bottom, or trust it through your top turns or your cutbacks. That's all I'm after. And I think the average person wants to experience that as well.
Hey, so that's how many years are you with Album?
It's been 2 years now, maybe
So,
going into my third.
so directly before you signed with them,
Mm.
what sort of boards were you riding then?
Before that, I was just riding it like a stock standard 6'4" by 19 and three quarters, 2 and 3 quarters, just squash tail thrusters. I did have the odd little twin fin here and there, but generally I was just riding a normal short boards. But my good friend of mine, Neil Purchase, he's a bit of an alternate shaper. I'm sure you've heard of
Yeah,
him,
yeah, yeah.
aware of his
Yeah.
boards. And I did step on a couple of his boards for a bit of fun every now and then. I was like, oh, this is so fun and so refreshing to ride something a bit different, especially when you didn't have to try and perform in front of anyone or, compete or anything like that. Not that I was a competitive surfer, but, it did give me that little thing thinking outside the box.
What do you think? What do you think the volume increase would have been? Because we'll geek out on these a bit later, but I'm looking at both those boards behind you, and the big
Yeah.
difference, like, because I worked in surfboards for many years as well, the big difference is that up through the front of the top of the board, isn't it? Where it's thicker and
Yeah.
beefier through there. So when you get to your feet, everything just flows, especially when you're paddling as well.
Yeah, exactly. And I think they've done it quite subtly with, as you can see, if the board's behind, it's not over the top, like, quite like more pretty to look at than just look like a classic mid-length or almost like a Malibu nose. But I find, look, I ride 40 liters, but I like to have my rails a little bit thinner than boxy rails. So I sort of yeah, I just like to have that fine tuned a little bit. I don't like the rails too boxy. Um, but just everything's evened out quite nicely, I find. And I don't like a board that looks too wide up the front. So I think it's just everything's just done quite nicely to sort of still make the board look like a more of a normal board.
Yeah.
How heavy? Sorry, Matt. How heavy are you there for that? Sorry to ask that question. Just to get a relation
On my weight, yes, I'm
for the
like,
40 litres.
yeah, I'm like range between 95 and 100 kilos. Yeah, so I'm quite, yeah, I've got heavy bones.
And
40 litres isn't that much, really, honestly.
No, that's what people think. Oh, a lot of people go, oh, you ride 40 litres. A lot of people like to ride, my age guys, but I see guys riding like 36 litres, 35 litres, and they're like 95 kilo guys. And I'm like, and I'm watching the frustration of them missing waves and stuff. And I'm just going, just beef up your literage. It's so simple. It's like,
we say it all
I
the
see a
time.
lot of stubborn people my age do that. And then, they're getting stuck going over the falls or they're getting caught behind sections. And I think their styles look a little bit cramped because they're getting on their boards and their boards look too loose. And I think it frustrates me seeing people surf when they could just make it easier for themselves by just adding a few extra liters. And I like to have my boards, I find 40 liters is my go to, but I have had a couple of boards up to 42 liters, but I know I can't go under 39. Like 40s is the magic number for me.
Yeah. So we obviously you've got your two models, but they
Hmm.
weren't models when you first started speaking to Album. So I assume you got on a couple of their boards that they were already making.
Yes. Yep.
What were they? Mm.
Uh, the Bum Deer, I was
Oh
riding,
yeah,
that was
my
probably the
favorite.
one I clicked with the most, which is Victor's model. Uh, I had a Twinsman, which I actually still got a couple of Twinsmans that I enjoy riding. Like I really struggle riding twin fins, but I've persevered and I've riding my twin fins a little bit longer now, which feel great. But the Boom D was probably the one I connected with the most when I first. Well, that was the first board I got was a Boom D, and it's
Yeah,
just the rocker just felt perfect to me. It just felt drivey,
with the
fast.
asymmetrical tail.
It did have an asymmetrical
Yeah,
tail, but the
yeah,
nose was
yeah.
normal.
I've
It
got
was
one. It's my favorite go-to board. My one is actually Matt Parker's. He made
original.
it for himself, and then he kindly sold it to me after about four serves and said he'd make himself a new one. And I just think that board's magical.
Yeah.
So yeah, I can see why you connected with that for sure.
Yeah. And you know what I find too about the asymmetrical tail? It's like it's built only to go for right hand points, but I've actually had more fun surfing it backside, a bit looser off the bottom, but that driving, that projection I get off the top because of
Yeah,
the extra length with the on the tail of
yeah,
the asymmetrical side, it just feels really incredible. So it feels like another little, I don't know, exciting part about riding, different boards. It's like it's only meant to go right, but you surf it backside and you go, oh, you know what? It actually feels really springy and amazing backside. So I love all
yeah.
those little things with different boards.
Do you
I
find with
was
that? Because sorry, Daz. Just do you find with that? Because I found with surfing asymmetricals, especially with the Bombardier where it's got the normal nose, um,
Mm-hmm.
you forget. Obviously, you don't look at the tail of your board when you're off and riding, so you almost forget that it's asymmetrical, and then you do go left, and you're like, oh wait, hold on, this is way looser going backside, and then you go front side, and you've got that like longer rail line, and you kind of
Yes,
forget that it's asymmetrical, right?
we do. Yeah, and I
Yeah,
think it's best not to think about it too much. You just get on the board, go if it looks weird or whatever, just never judge it till you surf it. That's what I think. No matter how ugly a board is or whatever, and then I think you can't first impressions. You got to give a board like a good week of surfing, like, and a lot of times a shitty board or whatnot can turn out to be the best board. I think I see younger generation, they get on board, go, no, I don't like it. No, I don't want to know about it. But I think you've got to give a board a good week and surf it in different conditions until you can really make that call.
Hey, so it's super interesting you were saying that about twins because I was going to ask you about that because I'm looking
Okay.
down there at the beige at the quad because like I love quads and we've talked about this a lot with Matt over the last few years. I
Uh-huh.
always struggled with twins. I had a lot of access to twins of like a couple of my friends here are shapers. One of them said to say good day to you. I was speaking to him before, Mark Phipps. He
Oh,
was,
Fipsy. Excellent.
yeah, he was in the Australian team with you in
He
'92.
was
He told me.
back in the day. Yes, yeah.
Yeah, so
He was.
he
I thought
lent
he
me
was
this
a great
nine
striker.
6'9" twin. He's back in Oz, and he lent it to me for the winter, not to surf it all the time. And I found it like it's incredible. It's so fast, but it is super loose, and he's a lot more. You know, Fipsy, he's just so beautiful surfer, and really light footed. Where
Light-footed and quite narrow stance, isn't he?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, he's
So as
unique.
soon as I try and engage it, like you get too much speed and it always kind of slide out, which is why I like the quads better
Yep,
until you kind of maybe slow yourself down. And you would have found that with all your power, wouldn't you?
definitely. I struggled. You do have to surf a twin fin a little bit differently, and I've found riding it a little bit longer helps with slowing it down or not turning. I want to. I've got to carve it a bit more and not rip in too hard, especially through the top of the carve or something, because it does release too quick for me and it pops out. But I think it does teach you to just control that pushing and releasing too quickly. Like it really makes you think about it through the turn. But I find if you surf like 80%, 70%, which I don't like to do, I always feel like I'm like most people do, like just hooking in. It actually the board's doing the work for you and it looks like you're surfing at 100%, but you're actually taming it a bit, which is pretty cool. But having that little bit of extra length, I think for me with the 20, um, and having a bit more of a raked fin, I like it. I used to think an upright fin was better, but having a raked fin, and it was. I feel like I could control that release where the board felt like it was going to pop out a bit better. The last board, actually, yeah, that board there, it's a twins, the new Twinsman, and I just surfed that recently. The last couple of clips I got, and I got a couple of racy down the lines, and it just held in so lovely. And that's just only an inch longer than I normally ride, a 6'5". But I always used to think at 20, you have to ride them like, like 3 inches, 4 inches shorter than your normal, standard shortboard. Like, but I found riding it, that one for me is 6'5" by, I think it's 20 3/4 by 2 3/4, and it holds it nicely.
Is that the new one with the twins are in the kind of barrel concave?
It is. It is
Yeah,
actually.
that's literally. Oh, this is weird, but that's literally my new board that I got on the
Yeah.
27th of December, and I've only surfed that board this year. And
Yep.
weirdly, the board that Darren got lent by Fipsy was the only Twinzar I'd ever used before. And when I was with Mark, we used it. I surfed it as a Twinzar, and he surfed it, and he was like, "I don't like it as a Twinzar," and we took it out, and it was much better as a twinny. But I really like the new Twinsman.
Well,
That
that's funny.
little fin is weird, isn't
Yeah,
it?
it's weird. I'll probably get in trouble for saying this, but I actually prefer it without
Oh,
the
okay.
little
I
fins.
That
haven't
But
was
tried
the
it
I
yet.
do surf it.
that
Yeah.
was the
Oh,
same. That was the same for Fipsy, and I didn't
yeah.
even try his board like that.
Yeah, I'm just surfing
Just
it
as
as
a
a
twin.
twin fin, and it feels great. And look, I'll try it again with I think they're called conjure fins or whatever the
Um,
little fins.
Canard? Canard.
Oh yes, cow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I that I've not got the correct terminology for that little fin, but as I said before, I'm not going to give up and not try the fin again, the little fins in it again. But yeah, it's just that thing, maybe in a really sucky wave, it might feel great with as a twinser. But just
Mm.
as a twin for me at the moment, it works great. And yeah,
Yeah. Sick. It's a great board. Lovely board.
Do you find that those absolutely beautiful colors on the boards you've got there, and I see it in the album boards, and I saw it in our surfboard factory as well.
Yeah.
It would flip people's minds. Does that get you excited to take them for a surf as well? When you're walking into that room, you wouldn't know which one to pick.
I yeah, I look, I feel yeah, I can't believe I'm so fortunate to be able to, test pilot all these different boards. But I do treat them like they're my little precious things because I like to hand them back in good condition. But they're just such good quality, craftsmanship, right through to being glassed and sanded. Everything's just so professionally done. And I've had no drum. Yeah, yeah. I hand them back and they're just like new sort of thing. But yeah, it just feels it's exciting to wax a new board up. But just having these instead of just a plain white stock standard machine cut board, I don't know, takes I don't know, the boards are just the top end of the scale of equipment. It's like having a Ferrari or something.
And you just don't know what you. I'm sure you just. I mean, on a new one, especially on a new model, you really don't know what you're going to get, do you? You can imagine that you might have something that you've never done before, as opposed to just the same sort of board that you had last time.
Exactly. Like this one here on this side, that's a new Delma. I actually haven't surfed that yet. Just haven't had the right conditions because I'm waiting for it to be like, it's a nice proper 4 foot day, whereas it's been a bit under 4 foot. So I've just been stuck on the Twinsman of late. So, and then I'm hoping it gets bigger for those other boards in the background, the blue one and the other coloured one. But yeah, it's sometimes it's a tough decision to know what board to take out because they're all going to work, but it depends what style of surfing I want to do too. Like I find the Delma to me, I feel like I can surf it a little bit more top to bottom, and the Vespa, feels like it's just a go-to if I'm struggling for any decision. I go on the Vespa because that's the board I've worked on the most and surfed the most, and to me it just feels like the best all-round board. But the Delmar, I'm just more experimenting. It's a good bigger wave board, but it's fun trying to play around with it as a short board, as a 6'4" at the moment, trying to fine tune that. Yeah. So it's all little, yeah. It's just got to have the waves to cooperate with you. Like the last 3 months, it's been really average here. So it's been a little bit hard I haven't been able to travel or anything, but it's, not stuck at home, but it's been nice to be home. But having all these boards and just not having anything to surf them in has been quite frustrating. And then when there has been waves, I've been working out west, so I've been away from the ocean. So it's hard to get all the elements right, but that's what makes us, keen to be a surfer, right?
You have to get Mike to take you back to Mexico.
I know, that'd be nice. Come on, Mike.
I did want to ask. So, yeah, speaking to the album guys and stuff, I remember it was probably like a week after the first clip of you had dropped, and I was speaking to Mike. So Mike obviously is the kind of silent side of album, I'd say, and he we was voice noting, and he said that the first clip of you dropped, and it had something like 1.6 million views on socials in 2 days, which had blew anything out of the wall. It just and I was like, that's so cool because it's I was obviously I'm like a bit younger, but I was so stoked to see like I've watched most of the old films and stuff, and then I saw this like new version. Was you a little bit surprised about the kind of reaction to the clips?
Yeah, yeah, that's a funny sort of question in a way because I'm a bit humbled by it all. I was just happy just to go surfing and get clips, and lucky to work with a fantastic filmer like Dan Scott. But yeah, when clips started dropping and whatnot, then yeah, seeing how many people liked it definitely makes you feel good. But it's not about that. At the end of the day, for me, it's about my own personal stoke of seeing that I can still.
Yeah.
It feels amazing that I still feel relevant, and people enjoy my surfing. I think people can relate to my surfing because I'm not really doing airs, and people, a lot of people, there's a lot of 35 to 65-year-old people that still surf and don't have to relate to, like, the young generation coming up. And I
Yeah.
guess I've been a proper test pilot, really, surfing my whole life in different ways around the world. And I don't know. And then having, a bit of a break from surfing and coming back, I just sort of came out of nowhere and people just get blown away. But yeah, it's a
Well,
tricky question. But yeah, of
well,
course I'm
yeah.
seeing that many people enjoy my clips. It's
While
pretty
I've got the
cool.
opportunity, like, thank you, because as a
Yeah.
35-year-old, it completely stokes me out. And there's a few clips and edits that I've watched and stuff, and then I've been like, I need to go surf now. So yeah.
Hey, so to put a bit of context into Matt's young age, Brenden, I'll go back to calling you Brenden. I actually
So
did meet you. I did meet you once.
your face
Uh,
does look familiar. I'm not going to lie. I
nah,
swear.
I don't think you remember me, but I did meet you at a barbecue at Byron Bay. You would have been. It would have been like 1991 or something like that. I was really good friends with a guy called James Savage, who was sponsored by Billabong at the time. He was probably maybe 1 year younger than you. I think he was in the Queensland team. And was the guy's name Byron Bay Boardriders? Kingy? Was it a guy called Kingy that was the
Oh,
president?
yeah. He was president at the time. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So we met at a barbecue, and I just was at the barbecue. There was a whole bunch of people there. I think Danny Wills was maybe there as well.
Yeah.
And then it was maybe a month later or a couple of months later, there was a ACC or some sort of Queensland titles. Would Byron have been in Queensland titles at the time?
We were. We
Yeah,
were
yeah,
part of,
yeah.
it's called South of the Border. So we were part of Queensland Surf Tech.
Yeah, so I think it was a Queensland titles or something like that at Coolum Beach.
Oh,
And
yeah. This case.
and Jai Gofton, I've got a good memory for things like that. Jai Gofton was in the final, I think, there was a couple of brothers that were maybe Quicksilver on the Gold Coast that were pretty kind of straight, like serious guys, really good surfers.
Oh, the Frost, maybe? Grant.
Yes, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And I remember, I think Goffo won it, and this guy that I knew at the surf shop there, Brian Smith, he was like, he didn't want Goffo to win because it was a little bit of a wild thing. And
Yeah.
you surfed in a shore break to the right down in front, nearly at the same time of the final,
Yeah.
and everyone that was under this hut was watching you surf and not the final. And I always wondered if you'd done that on purpose or if you were just surf frothing.
I would have been just surf frothing for sure. I would have been frustrated because I'm sure I would have got knocked out of the event. And I'm sure if there's waves, I was just an absolute surf Nazi frother. And if there was waves to the side of the event, that's where I was. Yeah, I was out there frothing. But
Hey,
I think I would have intentionally gone out there to take anything off the final. But that's pretty cool though that happened. Yeah.
I think it was that year. Well, I don't even think it was. I'm pretty
So I don't
positive
know
it
if we
was.
wrote-
It was that year that you just skyrocketed, right?
Yeah.
I think
Might
you'd
have
just
been.
been signed by Billabong, and
Yeah.
then because that was before the video series started coming out.
Yeah. Was it? Do you remember I was on a fluoro orangey yellow board at the time? Like, I can't remember.
Oh,
No,
that's
that's
really
pushing it too
pushing it.
far.
Yeah.
But
But I was leading into a question here.
yeah.
You had a break from surfing,
Hmm.
and like you've got a son, not probably a little bit older than my son, but my son's 20. How old's
Mike
Mika?
is 24. Yeah.
24. So there's a long period there which you'll know through your 30s and with work and family and kids where it is hard to keep the stoke and be able to get to the water and everything. And
Yeah.
now that you've had this little, like, not even little, let's say, reawakening, is this second one as good as the first meteoric rise, or how
It's
do you?
definitely a lot. It's definitely a lot different. It's quite the I guess when I was younger, it was like I was very happy-go-lucky. Everything just sort of randomly fell into place. And me just being a country kid from Byron and a little, yeah, it everything sort of fell on my lap when I was younger. Maybe a little bit too easy at times, where I did get treated, especially by Billabong, like everything was given to me on a silver platter there for a few years. And not realizing how good I had it until it ended. And it sent me through a bit of a spiral, just to make it the short version of the story of my life story with surfing. But this second time around, I feel a bit, I don't know, a bit wiser, smarter, and a bit more cautious and careful. But it was weird. It sort of fell into my lap again. But this time around, I'm not taking it, for granted, and having a job on the side and just having a bit more, I don't know, making the decisions up to me this time around instead of everyone else making the decisions for me and being like a little, monkey pulled by strings. This time it's all done on my decisions, and I just feel like I've got control of it this time. And the companies that I'm involved with now are smaller companies and a lot more core, I'd say, and a lot more. I feel not. I feel like I've got more of a say and listen to a lot more, and it feels more refreshing. And I feel like I've got more control about it now. And fortunate enough that I've had a name over the years, and I'm respected for that and my decisions really with what I want to do.
Yeah, sick. I think that's really, I think it's kind of really cool as well, because it's kind of a good lesson to people as well, of like, kind of, and you're probably able to then put that knowledge onto Micah as well, and even outside of surfing, on other things,
Sure.
you got to think about more than just, maybe more than just the money, or more than just the certain aspects. So I think that's really cool.
Yeah. Look at at the end of the day, money can't buy happiness. But I mean, it
Surfboards
doesn't.
can.
It's not about that. It's and it's obviously it's hard having my son, for example, he's chosen surfing as well as a little career, but it's he's old enough now. He's 24. It's his decision. I can only guide him with certain things, and it is hard. Kids, that the last thing they want to do is listen to their dad
Yeah.
most of the time. But you can only give as much advice as you can, and it is their journey. But yeah, it's I don't know. I just think it's important to have other interests besides surfing.
Yeah.
If you choose that as a job, or if you, it just makes you appreciate the times the opportunities you can get to surf way more.
So,
And mm,
so what is your job? You were saying you were doing field work.
yeah, look, I work with a botanist and an ecologist. I just do field. I'm a field assistant, basically. I don't have any degrees in ecology or anything like that. I've done a few courses to sort of get me into that the job that I enjoy doing. I've always been involved. I love being a bird watcher since I was a kid. Always enjoyed that. Then I just don't think I could sit in an office for me and work after having it so good, being outside all the time. So being outside in the field and having something complete opposite to surfing, like going inland to work and doing owl surveys at night, doing bat surveys and like legless lizard surveys. That's pretty cool. Yeah. So just setting up cameras and traps and whatnot it's pretty cool.
What's the difference between a legless lizard and a snake?
Well, not much really. It's the obvious thing. One's a lizard, one's a snake, but obviously, a legless lizard doesn't have, legless lizards don't have their little feet. They do have little mini, abnormal ones that were there once, but lost over time. But
Right, okay,
yeah,
yeah.
they just got a more of a narrow head that looks like a lizard. They don't, they're not venomous like a snake. Yeah.
Fair, yeah.
So field work, does that mean like what are you sitting in like a chair, like one of those barbecue chairs there in
With a
the
pair of
field
binoculars.
at night? Is
Sometimes,
that
like in our survey, for example, we do call playbacks. Like we have recordings of just for example, we might have, 3 owl species. Usually we're looking for endangered species, so it's hard to find anything, but when we do, it's incredible. It's very rewarding. But we'll have a little speaker, little Bluetooth speaker. We'll just do certain calls, like for a barking owl, for example, or a powerful owl, and we have do the call playback for 5 minutes, and we listen for 5 minutes, and then we just move to different zones, different areas, and it's pretty cool.
Sounds pretty. That's quite rewarding.
I just watched that there's a movie called Listers. Have you seen that?
So good. That's
so
hilarious.
good, isn't it?
Yeah. Listers. It's pretty funny that they're all out there to get the #1 spot with 900 species of birds. That's hilarious. Where that's the complete opposite way to bird watch. Really, is like you're always looking for new lifers, like new species, but to just go there and just race across the country just to see one bird for 1 second, go yep, tick. It's quite bizarre, but those young guys really, I think they made bird watching look cool again, didn't they?
I was just binging out a little bit on your Instagram a little bit, Margo. All right, I've got a good question for you, because I've had a couple of favourite surfers in my life. Mick Fanning, I saw him as a grom there. One of my best mates, Ismail Trotter, actually, you might know him too. He was your age. He was Sunshine Coast. He was head week.
Who was that, sorry?
Ismail Trotter.
Yeah.
All these kids were sponsored by Pipe Dreams at the time.
Ismail Trotter, I haven't had that name for so long.
So one of the things, you were one of my favourite surfers, honestly, because
thanks, Darren.
You're welcome. Like, you weren't far from where I grew up.
Yep.
I told Matt previously, there was a period there, and I'm not saying you're not good anymore, but in the mid-90s, where you're in the same conversation with Kelly and, let's say, Ockie, who was a little bit older than you guys.
Yeah.
You're also known for being incredibly humble. Have you noticed this time around, because I'm sure there's a lot of people like me that would probably struggle not to be incredibly impressed by you, which I'm assuming you might find a little bit embarrassing at times?
Yeah, it's hard to. Yeah, there is times for sure, and I believe when I'm talking to certain people, if I meet certain people that are really stoked to meet me, I like to give that time, because some people, I can see it in their eyes. They're like literally super stoked to meet me, and it does make me feel special. And I do like to give the time to talk to the average person that comes down and looks at my surfboard and remarks, and they know me and I don't know them, but I feel like a lot of times I go, do I know you, like from an old acquaintance that I met in the 90s or whatnot. But a lot of people are just generally the first time they met me, and it's definitely a nice feeling when people are literally stoked to see you, and really downright stoked to see me still doing it. It's a very cool feeling, but it's very humbling.
That's one of the weird things. Like, I think I've had one occasion where someone said to me, "Oh, I listened to your podcast," and I was a little bit weirded out, and that's one person in nearly 4 years. So I can't even comprehend to see what that was like. I did want to ask, obviously we chatted a lot about boards and stuff. I wanted to ask, it's weird how this world is such a small world, but you done a trip to Cruy with Micah?
I did.
Yeah. So my good friend is very close with the Mandiri Beach Club.
Correct.
And has a place out there and stuff. And he was sending me photos, and again, and then last March I was there. We went in sort of like just before the season turned on. What did you think of Cruy?
I had a ball. Yeah, it was off season. We were there in November.
Yeah.
Last November. November before. And we just, with the day we got, actually, Margo was just coming off an knee injury. I was coming off a back injury. We both hadn't surfed for a couple of weeks. And the first day, as it happens on many a surf trip, it's like the best day of the trip when it's like the biggest, craziest day. And
No warm
like,
up.
no warm up. And we're like, oh God, it's like they cut this. I forget the name of the left. It was a short, peaky, intense left reef. And we're like both looking at each other. It's like, oh God, we've got a filmer and a photographer here. We've got to, knuckle in and have a dig. But
Is that the one
both
they
on,
call Sumatran pipe? They call it, I think
it
it's the one.
is, yes,
Yeah,
it
yeah.
is. Mushroom pipe. A little bit intimidating. It only worked for like 40 minutes. The wind came up. So believe it or not, that was like the best opportunity for photos and footage of the whole trip. And I was like, oh God, you got to be on, you got to be on your toes straight off the bat. But anyway, after that, it was just straight back out at the beach break
Yeah.
most of the time because it was in between swells. We didn't really time it that well, but it was so fun to know you're staying in a resort and you can just walk straight out the front, not think about traveling or anything, and just surf like A-frame beach breaks. It is hard surfing beach breaks in the tropics, not going to lie to you, like just
Yeah.
traveling back out and stuff with the water being so warm and obviously the air temperature, but after a few days, it gets you fit. But it was a lot of fun. We had an absolute ball. It just felt good to not think about anything and know that there's waves straight out the front. And that's to me what it was like a perfect holiday, really. I was there with my son, and it was glassy most of the time, and there was a couple of barrels lefts and rights out the front. Happy days.
Yeah, I assume you had the 6 hour car drive from the airport, or did you
Yeah,
fly?
it's a big drive. That's obviously
Yeah.
after those connecting flights, then that
Yeah,
crazy car drive. If
the
I think I've
motor
still got
wild.
marks in the dashboard of the
Yeah.
car. And yeah, it's incredible. So it's just good just to chill and yeah, not travel.
I had a similar drive with this core group of Sunny Coast guys, and then there was a group from Jakarta Airport down to West Java. I think it's even longer.
Yeah,
Down there's a right hander down there called what was that called? Indicators, and then there's the lefts. But what I saw here, and that was one of my questions because I really wanted to know. I'm a natural footer from Queensland. I
yeah.
wanted to say like, what waves are you still like want to go and surf? And then I saw you'd gone to the one that's the biggest one on my hit list, P Pass.
Yes, yeah, that was P Pass is a special wave for sure. And that was oh, sorry, this is a bit of a burp then. That
Oh,
was
good.
was that 2003 or something was when I was there. They were old photos that was on my
Okay.
Instagram. Yeah. So that was a while back, but the photographer Andrew Shields just sent me a bunch of the photos recently. I went, oh, they're too good not to post. I'm putting them up. Yeah. But I'd love to go back there. I did 3 trips to that area, the Ponape Peak Pass, and it's an incredible wave. It's very, it is the only wave really there that's decent. The rest of the waves are pretty C grade, unfortunately, unless you go to the other side of the island when the winds are different at a different time of year. But what an intense, heavy right hand barrel,
That's what I was
and
going to say.
what colour.
How big did you get it?
The very first trip, we got it like 6 to 8 foot. Yeah, it was
Wow.
pretty. And that was at the end of the trip, which was good. Leading up to it, it was like 4 foot every day, but it was offshore, clean. It was what you dream of. It was just like a perfect barreling right hander. And then back that first trip, I think there was only about 3 or 4 other surfers there, so that it was only like 6 to 8 dudes in the lineup the whole time, and everyone was super cool. But I did go back another 2 trips and never got it as good as the first one. But I would love to go back to that break. It looks. I don't think I'd want to surf it nowadays though. Over 6 to 8 feet, it looks so sketchy. It looks scary because it doesn't get. It just gets thicker and meaner and ledgy.
Did
And
you
I think
see?
I've still got a scar on my leg from that trip. I actually got a souvenir from hitting the bottom. Um,
Wow.
yeah, it's
Did you see Wade Goodall? Well, and he did a film a year or two ago. What was the name of it? Matt will know. Is it not? Isn't it
oh,
Wade? Not Wade Goodall. Wade. He's from your area down there. Vans rider.
Yeah,
He's
Wade
from
Goodall.
Sunshine
Yeah,
Coast.
yeah,
But he's
Wade
yeah.
Goodall.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
And
he
he
did it.
surfed it. Looks like 12 foot. Like,
Yeah, incredible. He charges Wade Goodall. He's actually a fantastic surfer. Yeah, yeah. That's I don't think I could do that these days. Maybe go out and catch one wave, maybe, but I don't think I could stay out there and push my luck.
Yeah, that kind of leads on with the conversation of Wade. One of the questions I wanted to ask is obviously we've kind of waxed lyrical about how we enjoy watching you surf. But is there like do you watch a lot of surfing? Do you like is there anyone like that you've been seeing lately that you're like kind of like, oh, I'm quite stoked to see? Obviously, maybe not your son, like because that's an obvious one.
No, look, I'm a pretty big surf fan. I actually enjoy watching the WSL events. Like, yeah, I find it really interesting to see where surfing's going, where it's progressing, and the world champ Yogadora is like, I think, being a really tall guy. Um, he does some big, powerful turns without meaning to be powerful because he's so big and he just sends a lot of spray and he's just naturally gifted with everything he does. Like, and then those aerial things, I can't really relate to that, but I think it's pretty cool what he does. But being a proud Australian, seeing the young up and coming Aussies, as a young guy called Winter Vincent,
Yeah,
and he looks like he's going to me, go, looks like a long way. He looks like he's just got a beautiful natural style that's his own style. And he just looks like he's got that little something, which is, I can see a bit of a future in that kid for sure.
yeah,
I
no,
said that to Matt in a
literally.
message the other day where I was
Yeah,
going. I actually sent him a message because I saw a like 5 second clip where he was doing some frontside turns, and I said to Matt that looks kind of like a new, even though he's not old, a different version of George Pitter. How stylish it was.
Yeah.
So you must be a fan of Ethan's surfing as
Oh,
well from where we
100%.
are, where
Yeah.
we're from.
Ethan's just, yeah. There's that many good surfers these days. It's hard to name everyone, but Ethan
Isn't
Ewing
it?
is definitely, he's just like, he's up there with Steph Gilmore, just like just incredible. You can't fault Ethan at all. And that's the same thing with, like the Parko and Ethan. They don't look like they're trying, and they can get easily underscored, which has happened in the past with both of them. But until you slow mo their turns and see how actually much power and how critical they are, it's so easy to say, oh, they're just doing, these big carvy things, but they're doing it in such a beautiful part of the wave. They're coming at it with so much speed into the next turn without any double pumping. It's just pure smooth, just beautiful surfing. It's yeah, massive fan of Ethan. Yeah.
that's really cool. Yeah, I can't argue with that as well. And actually, quick little shout out, Winter Vincent. I think he's just made the semi-finals of the WSL juniors, like the junior event. And actually, Australia have kind of taken over because I think it's Lennox Smith and Dane Henry in one semi, and then Winter Vincent and
Yeah.
I'll butcher the kid's first name, but it's Taro Watanabe's little brother. Um,
Yeah.
in the other semi, and then the girls have got Sierra Kerr and um, Isla Huppets in the
Oh,
other
yeah.
semis and stuff. So yeah, Aussies are taking over, but which
That's
and it's
that's
sick to
really
see
nice
for
to hear
sure.
because Australian surfing were a bit on the back burner there for a few years. It's a bit like, oh gosh, we've what's happened, but it's nice to know that there's there's so much talent, a big massive deep talent pool, which there always has been, but it's starting to shine through at the moment with Aussie surfing.
Hey, so two of my other good friends, you probably know their names as well. I'm name dropping, but Anthony King and Matthew Dobell, they're goofy footers,
Yeah,
and they became over the last 20 years because there was people like you that were obviously in the top echelon, and these guys weren't like didn't go on to follow the tour. There really wasn't much chance for that back then, especially if you were from
Oh,
Sunshine Coast or some rural areas, I'd say between Sydney and Melbourne or West Australia as well. And these guys have gone on to become like living like it's it's a big call. People don't like saying it, but they are legends at like G-Land and Left Hand barrels like that, and they're still going. Have you
so
noticed that there's guys like your age, our age, where before they kind of would stop, but now there's people our age so stoked and so charging and surfing well.
yeah. And I'm not going to lie to you, these guys, like I've got the name and I've got the a camera by my side a lot of the time, so I do get these clips. But I'm sure these underground guys, if there was a camera with them and they had that little extra, which I've randomly got, they would be just as good, if not way better than me, because they charge and they're there, they're dedicated, and it's 100% right. There's some absolute core lords out there. And they choose not to, maybe have that limelight or this or that. They're just stoked on surfing, and I think they're that yeah, that's what surfing's about at the end of the day. Those guys, they're the real legends. They're the real core lords. Yeah.
It's the backbone of our sport, really, isn't it?
The backbone of the sport. I'm just a little bit of that dude there that just happens to be, with a cameraman and stuff that got, because that's all I've known and that's what I've been sort of guided to. But I'm not going to say no to what, this career choice that I've been given. But I love seeing those guys. We go to, a recent trip I went to WA. There's still guys that I don't even really know their names, but I know their faces. And they're still just out there charging, crazy big Nalu, not to get on the cover of a magazine or, to get an Instagram clip. It's just about doing it for the love of it. And I think that's the most important thing for everyone, especially young guys. It's about you're doing it because you're doing it from here, from your heart, not to do it for social media. Yeah. And, I swear to God, I do it from my heart. I just love it. But I love seeing the guys that just, the underground guys. When you're paddling back out and you see someone just charging and they're real surfers. It's awesome.
Yeah, they're the type of guys that almost if you got an Instagram clip of them or videoed them or filmed them, they'd be like, delete it, like get rid of that kind of thing. Like they're that underground, they're that core.
Yeah. And I'm sure if they had a camera on them, for their 6 month trip to G-Land or traveling around the world, they would get the craziest clips. But
Oh,
that's just the funny world that we live in now.
those couple of mates of mine, they get their clips. Don't worry about that because like one of them,
Look,
one
every
of them,
surfer loves to look back and have a beer and watch themselves surf, don't they?
uh,
It's always good to
well,
self-analyze.
well, the wave like G-Land, and it's kind of similar to a lot of the waves where I live here in Hossegor as well. Now, when they're really on, there's lots of cameramen there. So,
Yeah,
like G-Land, one of my friends sponsored by one of the semi-sponsored by one of the camps there, and obviously they've got dudes there taking drone shots so they can sell it to all the guests as well.
yeah. No, it's definitely a different
It's a
era
new,
now.
it's a new world, isn't it?
Yeah, you can go anywhere now, and there's a drone flying around or someone trying to sell you a clip here and there. So it's just the way it is.
Yeah, talking about being able to go anywhere and stuff. Have you got either anywhere lined up that you're going, or is there anywhere that you kind of want to really to get to?
Uh, there's nothing short term at the moment, but usually that's the way. And it does make it tricky for work and stuff. But I know that I picked up Caton as a sponsor,
Yeah.
and as Album, they're planning, on doing a trip this year. I mean, Album definitely have a trip on the cards. I'll probably have to go to the States for sure. So whether I go to Mexico from there, and who knows? Yeah, I'm pretty keen to get back to a late season Hawaii. I really enjoy going to Hawaii, not to charge big crazy waves or anything, but I just love surfing Hawaii. I love surfing Rocky Rights. It's just where some consistent and just to ride some bigger boards. I love to ride, those from 7.2 to 6.8. It's sort of my favourite size boards to ride when it's 6 foot. So I'd love to, if I got a choice to go anywhere, I'd love to do a late season in Hawaii. So some off the wall, some rocky
Nice.
rights or Sunset or Haleiwa. That'd be pretty cool.
Well, you do have the reputation.
I did hint that to album.
Yeah, we'll put some pressure on our side as well. We'll see, and I might just have to volunteer to be like board caddy or something.
There you go.
I'm not surprised you said that. You've got a reputation of being one of the best Haleiwa surfers ever. That's a big call, but there were a couple of times I think when you first went there where you surfed a big, where you got some clips and a lot of recognition. That's right, isn't it?
Did, yeah. Look, I loved going to Haleiwa in that late 90s, early 2000s. There's a lot of focus surfing Sunset or whatnot, or the contest was at Sunset, but after the Haleiwa Pro event was on, it was forgotten about. No one went there and surfed there back then. There was just a couple of core crew that surfed there, but it was never on the limelight sort of spot to get clips. But when I just found the wave, when it was 6 to 10 feet, it was just the most rippable wave. It really show you who's boss. You get absolutely smoked out there. Sometimes you wouldn't even catch a wave, and when every turn you went around because you got caught in the rip and you got a big set on the head and you have to start again. So I guess that's why a lot of people didn't surf it. But if you got on a little roll out there because the rip just sucks you straight back into the lineup, you could get like 3 waves in 5 minutes sort of thing. And I just love the way the rip's coming up the face of the wave and it bends back at you and you can ride an extra long board. And yeah, it was.
What size board were you riding in some of those sessions?
Oh, that was like 7.6s. Yeah, it was a bit of a go-to board. I used to love riding a longer board in Hawaii. But I just, my shaper at the time, Morris Cole, I had the opportunity of being able to leave boards in Hawaii over the years I used to go. So I had a lot of boards over there. So I had a lot of selection of guns. But yeah, I used to like riding bigger boards in Hawaii.
When was the last time? When was the last time you were in Hawaii?
Well, I went not last year, the year before. I did a trip there. I did a 10-day stint, but we got a little bit skunked. It was so windy the whole time. Never really got much of a swell. We tried to get Haleiwa on, but it just didn't get big enough. And it wasn't a trade wind. It was more of an onshore wind. And it was nearly like that the whole trip, unfortunately. So but you got to pay your dues. It's like, I think when you go to Hawaii, you got to go for a month minimum. Well, it's like anywhere. You got to put your time in anywhere you go. It's pretty hard to ask you to sort of get a break on straight away, especially if it's a planned trip.
For sure. Mentioning the legend that is Morris Cole,
Yeah.
I've been fortunate enough to spend a bit of time with Morris and have some conversations with him. I got stuck in a car with him on my own for 2 hours and might have been the most crazy 2 hours I've ever spent in a car. Do you have like any crazy experience that or memory of a single thing that you can throw back out to experience with working with Morris or not even working, but just knowing?
Oh, gosh, I was with Rode Morris's boards for like 12 years, I think it was, maybe a bit longer. But there was every experience was pretty wild with Morris. Probably one that comes to mind, which was a great experience, was actually when he lived at Hossegor, and there was a Mandaka swell. I think it was like mid-90s or whatnot, and Ross Clark Jones was with him at the time, and I had a little rental car. I forget what sort of car, the smallest rental car you've ever can imagine. Morris goes, "We're going to drive down to Mandaka 3 o'clock tomorrow morning to get their first light and pick up Ross Clark Jones." And he's like, "I'm taking your car." And I'm like, "Okay." And it's just like driving down with Morris and Ross Clark Jones, and they're just...
That's a heavy hit squad.
Just like just as fast as, I don't even know how, like we were just driving, so everything's just fast, high pace, lots of coffee, lots of this and that, and just Mandaka was like maxed out. It was like solid 8 foot Mandaka. I remember just coming home that evening just going, oh my God, it was just so worn out, but just everything was just mad, hanging out with two lunatics. Yeah. It's
Take
just
me to the church.
yeah. I think they might have been, yeah. Anyway, it was a pretty funny trip.
I love that.
Definitely still remember it. Yeah.
You've probably got some sort of outstanding speed tickets on that hire car somewhere.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, I didn't, but I find a way that yeah.
Right, well, if you ever do make your way back to France with your son, I've got a surf house here, Margo. So
Wow.
you'll be an invited and welcome guest, as long as you don't come in July and August when it's pretty full, which is not surf season either. But
Much
I'll try
appreciated.
and get Matt to get Album to send you guys over here as well.
Yeah, get album in France, get Fipsy on some A Sims as well,
Yeah, there
or
you
just
go.
get Fipsy to join. That'd be core as.
I reckon.
Well,
No, I'd
yeah,
love to get back to France. Yeah, it would be amazing.
Thanks
we,
so much for giving us your time. I know it's early in the morning,
You're
you've got
welcome.
things to do. It was awesome.
Well, actually, the rain stopped and there's no wind, and I know there's a little bit of swell, so I'm going to go for a paddle, I think.
there we go.
Oh, sick. Well,
Well,
good luck picking what board you're going to surf.
Yeah, true. I just do one of these ones.
get the assistant
All
to
right.
help.
Yeah, true. All right, guys, it's a pleasure
So,
and really nice to meet you both,
yeah,
Matthew.
thanks so much.
Have a good day.
You too. Cheers,
Take care.
guys.
Have a good surf. Cheers.
Ciao.